The last piece of clothing I bought was in September, yet my wardrobe is overflowing with clothes I don't wear. I'd better get rid of something, but I'm not alone in this. 100 billion new garments are produced annually around the world. The fashion industry is responsible for 8 to 10% of global emissions, and British shoppers buy more clothes than any others in Europe. Of all the clothes thrown away across the world, 57% is sent to landfills.
It doesn't matter if you're Gen Z or a millennial, we really are the Amazon Prime next day delivery generation. People started to see sustainability as a fashionable lifestyle choice, almost something that was like a virtue signal that you were a good person without necessarily understanding the impacts of the clothing industry, not only on the environment, but on the people who are involved. It needs to be a more holistic understanding of the word and not just jumping on the bandwagon.
Would you consider the practice of making some or all of your own clothes a solution against consumerism and fast fashion?
I love that idea because it would help us to just have an appreciation and a gratitude to embrace the kind of labor and the love that went through that one item. I think there's something really beautiful in that would stop us from being so disposable with our clothes. It would help us to embrace heritage and sentimentality of clothes because they have a story. And I think we've removed that emotional attachment to our clothes because we've all just become it's all so transactional, so disposable.
My grandma was a seamstress and my other grandma crocheted doilies. I'm incredibly excited to take this opportunity to take back my ancestry roots. This is my expertise so far. I started with crochet. I didn't really make any clothes.
Despite my lack of knowledge, I was determined. I wanted to learn what went on behind the stitch. Taking the tools at my disposal, I scoured the internet for a pattern, chose a Pinterest color palette, and somehow ended up with an Italian flag. I am lucky enough to already have a pretty full stash of yarn, but I chose material that was low-cost acrylic, using what I already owned and making a move towards a more conscious effort towards quality garments.
Now charity getting really serious about also look after the material, so that's what we try to do, and that's why even the price in a charity raising up.
Creating a garment was certainly a bumpy ride. I ended up with several failed attempts and had a hard time figuring out how to connect the stitches and maintain a uniform tension.
This is the finished version of my collar.
It wouldn't be.
It's not perfect, not beautiful. I really don't know where I went wrong. It passes through my neck. It doesn't pass through my head.
And when I tried blocking it, it was clear it wouldn't work. But let's take a step back. Why should I go through all the trouble to actually make a garment? Aren't available solutions enough? What about charity shops?
100% of donation in a week. We can sell the 80.
It depends. Most times I would say about 80%.
So the 20%, which is the one really in bad condition because of the material, has to be waste.
And here lies the problem. There's simply too much clothing to process. In addition to all of the wasted and discarded clothes, traditionally unwanted second-hand clothes are sent abroad, but countries have started to reject the goods because they simply have too much of them.
Slowly but surely, this is what I now have. The green is not great. It's full of holes, and I have a massive hole down here in the other green. This project has taken me a very long time. How long will it take me to finish it? I really do not know. It really grew my appreciation for people making clothes, making me realize how much of a skill people need to have to create garments. What would you suggest for someone who wants to get started on clothing sustainability?
Donate it to any good charity. Because most times they will use it for, and even if they're not sellable, we recycle them.
Even in the past, the people was recycling in between of a family or parents. It's been working, so it's very important that the customer understand that the recycling instead to throw away.
I think it's already good to know how to dispose of your clothes, because I know a lot of people, of course, embrace the buying and selling secondhand mentality, but there's also another option for clothes that you don't feel would sell that could still have a second, a third, a fourth life. And then I think it's having a gratitude for what you have. Thirdly, it would be to find your favorite fabrics, which are the fabrics that are most sustainable and easiest to grow. As consumers, every £1 that we spend is actually a vote. We need to be very good at critically thinking and thinking individually. It's our money that shapes the way the market will supply.
I can say that I achieved my taking back my ancestry roots, and I really am in love with the fact that my grandmothers did this for a living or on a daily basis. Are the practices we learned in this documentary a viable option, or are we stuck in a society of shopaholics? Only time will tell. For now it's all. Lisa Greghi, Metropolitan University, London.